and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Dan,
Chris,
Lee.
So nothing happens in the off-season.
No,
nothing
nothing.
ever
Never.
happens in the off-season.
Nothing happens. No news, no nothing. What we're going to talk about?
I think some man with an interesting facial growth under his nose has done something with Formula One or something. Some guy with like a moustache, a big twirly moustache or something.
You appear to be chasing something.
I'm on a chase.
I don't care.
Hey.
Oh.
So you're not a Kerry chaser. Then.
Kerry Chaser sounds like a euphemism for something. I'm not quite sure what.
I immediately apologise for starting that. Immediately. If I could go back in time.
Less than a minute into the talky bit of Lee's first apology of the night, and
Yes.
it's not one of us that had to make it.
I would like to redact my chase. Thank you very much.
Basically, a strange-looking American man has taken over the sport and running of the sport from a strange-looking British man.
Yep, the Bernie era is over.
Is Chase Carey that strange looking
No,
if
he's
you're in
ju-
the country?
No, he's just got a moustache.
Is he a Texan?
I don't know if he is.
I haven't got a
I
clue.
fucking hope so.
You're gonna make me do this Googling thing again.
Left-handed
aren't you?
Googling.
No,
Because
it's
it-
left-handed Wikipedia. I've already got that
Because
open.
if he is, he's so going to run Formula One like the Texan tycoon from Simpsons.
Yeah, shooting guns in the air. Yeehaw! No, that's not going to happen.
Doesn't actually say, but he went to Colgate University.
Toothpaste.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. And he's got an MBA from Harvard.
Very good.
Where is Colgate University?
I don't know.
New York.
Do you know what Colgate University hasn't got above its door? A crest.
Ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, bum. UK-based
Or a plaque.
toothpaste.
Yes! I don't regret that!
UK-based toothpaste jokes. So now, right. So
Right.
yeah, we've got news. Paul, take it sensibly.
I'll
from
take
here on
it
out.
sensibly. Basically, we're recording this on Tuesday night. Normally we're recording a Monday, but couldn't record last night. For the second Monday on the trot, everything happened.
Don't make excuses. Fuck them. They don't own us. Apart from the patrons, you own us. But the rest of them, they don't own me.
No, but with personal reasons, I couldn't record last night.
Yes.
So, basically, what happened was, it was about last Thursday, stories started coming out from Bernie, who was actually on a skiing holiday at the time, I'm led to believe.
Don't think the original stories were from Bernie, or not the ones I saw.
But it's
He was quoted in the one that I saw on Thursday, saying that his time in charge of Formula One might be over sooner rather than later.
well, it was only last week, wasn't it, that the FIA ratified the takeover?
Yeah,
By
that
Liberty
was
Media.
Thursday morning, and by Thursday night, Bernie was putting out statements, but not statements, saying that he might be coming to the end of his run. Then on Monday morning, all hell broke loose.
Bernie's sort of the way he worded it, he sounded like somebody just sort of given up a little bit, hadn't he?
Well,
Very dejected, sort of sounding Bernie Ecclestone. Very rare for him to sound like that.
Except for all the times when he's tried to get Ferrari to win a race and they haven't. But anyway,
Yeah.
moving on from that.
The first stories I was seeing on Monday were saying that it looked like Bernie Ecclestone was going to be pushed out of Formula One.
Which is pretty much what happened. Chase Carey has made the decision, and also the board of the Formula One group of Liberty Media are now been renamed as the owners of Formula One. Made a decision that it's time to move Bernie on to an official title called Honorary President.
No, it's Chairman
Chairman
Emeritus.
Chairman what now?
Emeritus.
Emeritus.
It's Latin for former.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. If your name is Emeritus,
Did they? Did they?
We salute you.
Did they use Latin so Bernie could understand it?
being from ancient Rome and that. But yeah, honorary president was actually what Bernie said he was going to be called or given the title of. But he said he still had the money to attend a race or two. And
Which my response to that was, if all the circuits carry on with his pricing, and ticket pricing, he will be the only one that can afford to attend a race or two.
Yeah. And also, let's not forget, I believe he still owns a freight company, which all of the teams are licensed to use by Formula One.
Air Bernie, not Bernie Air.
Bernie Air,
Yeah.
yes.
He said on Monday he'd been forced out in an interview with our favourite magazine, Automotor und Sport.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, I was dismissed. This is official. I no longer run the company. My position has been taken by Chase Carey.
Not really.
No.
It's been restructured. There's been like a little bit of restructuring going on without getting too boring and talking about business. Chase Carey is sort of the head of everything, if you will.
He's the new Bernie.
He is kind of the new Bernie, but
He
not
is,
really.
but he isn't.
Because the new Bernie is Sean, whatever his name is. Keep forgetting his surname.
Batches.
Sean Batches. No, not Batches.
Basically, Liberty Media are like the Power Rangers, and the new Bernie is like the Megazord.
Yeah.
Because you have to have all three of them to be the new Bernie.
Yeah, but what Chase Carey has done quite sensibly, and we've spoken about this on the podcast before, is split sporting and commercial parts of Formula One into two different entities with two different people running it. And the person running the sporting part of it is Ross Brawn.
He's the new Max Mosley.
He's essentially
Well,
the new
no,
Max
because
Verstappen.
Jean Todd's the new... No, this is too complicated. Jean Todd is the new Max Mosley, because he's head of the FIA.
Who's the next Jensen?
Will Stevens.
Oh.
Julian Palmer.
Oh no.
Oh, that Graham Russell that Mercedes signed last week to as their third driver on the Young Driver programme. No, me neither.
No.
No, he's 17 and he's doing GP3 or something.
They've got high hopes for him though, haven't they? I think.
They have.
It looks like they have.
Yeah.
Let's just see if there's a sport for him to slot into.
Let's see how long they have 3 junior drivers in their program.
Yeah,
There was 3 in the bed, and a little one said,
roll over, which Pascal Wehrlein did.
Quite spectacularly at the Race of Champions.
But moving back to the whole Formula One complete takeover thing. So Bernie said he'd been forced out. Chase Carey thanked him for all the work that he'd done and made him chairman emeritus.
Since 1958, as we discovered on last week's podcast, which is when he actually entered as a driver.
What year?
1958. Bernie Ecclestone entered 2 Grand Prix as a driver.
That's just sort of between 5 and 6 o'clock. 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Almost.
That's cracking.
My brain's not working properly. I think the coffee was just the right strength tonight.
I nearly killed you because I was making hot chocolate at the same time I was making your coffee, and I almost put the same amount of coffee in your cup as you'd use to make hot chocolate.
I would like to sleep this week.
Yeah, well, I've looked at it this way. I almost made you mega productive for 48 hours.
Yeah, 59 years Bernie Ecclestone's been in the sport, and now he is essentially not in the sport.
You say not, but he's going to have an involvement. I mean, one of his companies still owns Paul Ricard, and that's where the French Grand Prix is going to be from next year. He still owns Bernier, which transports all the teams around. We were joking earlier that he could buy Manor just for shits and giggles.
A lot of people have been saying that on Twitter as well. You know, why doesn't Bernie just go in and save Manor and give them all of the money that he can?
Because he's too good a businessman.
Yeah, but just to put his name back in Formula One.
Yeah, but he's not stupid enough to do
That's exactly the reason he won't do it.
Yeah,
but if you say Manor and you're full of cold, it sounds like his old team Brabham anyway.
It does a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, he'd have to literally open. Because I like to think of Bernie Ecclestone as having a vault, like Scrooge McDuck had.
No, he dives into it on a regular basis and just swims in all his gold.
But he'd have to put just a separate pipeline into it, and that would just funnel money into Manor for no reason.
Yeah, in a few days' time, he noticed that his level of his golden pool was down a little bit. We're not talking about the same golden pool that Donald Trump might be looking at.
I was waiting for that as soon as you mentioned Golden Pool. I don't know why I was surprised.
Golden Pool, I'm going to take a...
Badoom piss.
So yeah, we've got these two. Well, I'll say two new people in charge of separate sides of Formula One, both reporting to Chase Carey. But one of them's not exactly new because everyone knows who Ross Brawn is.
Yeah.
Is this Ross Brawn exacting his revenge on Mercedes? Now who's in charge? You've been dominant for so long, but now I'm in charge of the sporting side of things, and you will have all of the penalties ever.
And then when he decides to retire after 3 years, and they bring in Ron Dennis just as McLaren are getting world beating.
Yeah.
Then McLaren will find themselves back where they were last year.
So
in a most electrifying manner.
So what do we know about Sean Bratches then? He is ex-ESPN, and he is going to be in charge of the commercial side.
Does that mean he's psychic?
Let's ignore Lee for now.
Yeah, I think so. He's already apologised once.
Yeah.
That's all the sense we'll get out of him tonight.
It's what he did at ESPN that's the interesting thing, because while he was there, he was the executive who was responsible for doing things like putting together the app that streams ESPN to mobiles. Now, for Americans in particular who struggle to get live Formula One coverage in a decent manner, then
Like without adverts every 30 seconds.
There's
Then
been
that
Formula
could be
One
very
drivers starting to get a
interesting.
decent manner as well.
well, there's rumours that they might be saved.
Yeah, is there? Oh, that's
We'll
nice.
get on to that. We'll get on to
I know
that.
nothing of that. Tell you what, though, like ESP, like some sort of mobile app, would be fucking great if we had one of them. Sorry, guys,
yeah.
in joke.
But yeah, and that's interesting with the with what you're saying about Sean Bratches, about the creating the that sort of link with ESPN, sort of bringing it up to date technologically, as well as sort of using the latest technologies. Because exactly what Chase Carey has said.
Yeah, so he is familiar in detail with how to do streaming services.
Yeah.
And let's face it, it's something that's needed, because one of the things that Carey wants to do is modernise the way people watch Formula One, and modernise everything about Formula One.
Yeah.
That isn't actually on the track.
Yeah, he said that basically it's been like the last 4 or 5 years, Formula One hasn't been able to take advantage of the technologies to promote itself as best as it perhaps could.
Well, I think I've said, haven't I, on the podcast before, that before buyouts were even rumoured for, when we've been talking about Formula One trying to expand, and I said, like, months and months and months ago, maybe a couple of years now, even when we first started it, that Formula One now is pretty much exactly the same thing as it was in 1994. I realise the technology inside it's changed, but the way it's presented is pretty very fucking similar.
Yeah, and
pretty much.
The events have as races, those formats are still pretty much in place as well. You turn up and practice. Saturday is qualifying. Race on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone goes home, or on to the next race.
Yeah.
It's been that format for a while, but it looks like Chase Carey wants to shake things up a little bit by making more of a spectacle and an event of the races to draw more audience.
His words were he wants 20 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't think that's a bad thing.
No.
Because you've got the travelling F1 circus, and you're in 20 different cities, 20 different countries, and you want an event that people know about.
Yeah.
And you want as much publicity and as much going on as possible. Because comparing it to the Super Bowl, that's coming up next weekend.
Yeah.
And for the week before, it's in Houston. And for the week before the Super Bowl, Houston will just be Super Bowl City. And everything is geared around the one event on the Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is what needs to happen with Formula One, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what happens in some places when there's a race building up, but I'm pretty sure you could stand in Northampton Town Centre on the weekend before Silverstone, for example, and not that much different going on.
Yeah.
So it's it would be beneficial to the sport, and I know a lot of people are probably shaking their heads or listening to this and thinking, well, this is the Americanization that we didn't want. I'll stop you there. It's not Americanization. It's globalization.
Yeah.
It would be
But not in the bad way.
Yeah.
No.
It would be American if they got rid of. It would be Americanization if they got rid of all the right turns.
Yeah.
And also put sponsorship over everything. That overtake was brought to you by.
Yeah.
But then again, if it was that brought money into the sport, you know, if that brought money to the sport to make it more popular, that now and again there was a fucking Bud bottle getting a glass of Bud getting filled up in the corner of the screen for no apparent reason, which I'm sure I've seen in NASCAR.
With Bud Light.
But if that brought money into the sport to make the sport more competitive and more exciting, fucking grand, slap fucking stickers all over it.
No, I'd be less inclined to go with that. But the interesting thing is that
Well,
Chase.
there's advertised on it all anyway.
Yeah, but Chase Carey seems to. I'm talking like baseball, for example. Baseball, somebody hits a home run. Oh, that home run was brought to you by Pizza Hut, and straight away a massive Pizza Hut logo comes up on the screen, and you miss what's going on the screen for 3 or 4 seconds because a home run was scored, and Pizza Hut signed a deal that says if a home run's scored, our logo goes up on the screen.
Oh, that's weird.
So you don't want to see that. You don't want to see Vettel overtaking Hamilton, for example, and then that overtake was brought to you by STP Oils.
Yeah,
and then you're like, hey, what's going on? I want to be watching this.
I don't think that's not a real comparison, though, is it? Because
No, but
you
that's
couldn't
what-
do it.
But
in
that's
the sport.
that is
not
usually
the
with,
direction
that's
to go
with
to.
the TV companies anyway. It's not
Yeah.
with. I mean,
Well, we already have the DHL fastest lap.
Yeah.
DHL fastest
Oh yeah,
pit
yeah,
stop.
yeah. We do.
But that's the sort of things we'll get.
And there's
that
an
sort of
award for that at
advertising.
the end of the year. And there's what I was going to say before was about Chase Carey is sort of he's been around Formula One now for it's going to be about 10 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's quite understanding of the fact that the foundations of the sport are in Western Europe, despite what Bernie Ecclestone might have said in the past about Formula One being finished in Europe. Chase Carey understands that the foundations are in Western Europe. This is where Formula One started, and he understands that you've got to keep the iconic parts of the sport for traditionalism, basically. Traditionalism is where you grow a legacy. And keeping iconic tracks, he has actually said that the British Grand Prix is going to be safe.
Yeah,
Don't need to worry about that.
I'm quoting Andrew Benson from the BBC on this one.
Yeah.
Through all this, Eccleston has acted as if he does not care. If a race in Europe won't pay the fees he wants, he's usually said he'll find one elsewhere. There's usually a controversial regime wanting to stump up a wad of cash to host an F1 race. Liberty want to end this. They see the historic European races, Britain, Germany, Italy, Belgium, for example, and I think you can really add Monaco into that,
Yeah.
as a key aspect of F1 and one they have to nurture and cherish.
Yeah.
Sounds grand. I'll be interested to see what he does, because anyone can say the right thing.
Yeah, but they want to also something else you said as well. They want to expand events in new markets like the US. You could end up with 2, maybe 3 races in the US because it's a market that they're starting to tap into. The race in Texas has been going on since 2012, I think it is 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
The Circuit of the Americas. We love that circuit, as we said many times before. It generally lends itself to being a very good Formula One circuit.
Yeah.
And it's become very, very popular. Stands are always quite full, unless of course there's a storm going on.
Yeah.
In which case the stands are very empty.
I did see a friend of the podcast, Sean Kelly, tweeting earlier, if Liberty are interested in US street races, I can pass them the whole San Diego Grand Prix plan I put to city leaders in California in 2011.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Why
excellent.
not? Why
Yeah.
the hell not?
What I hope they do, if they're going to Americanise anything, and I know there'll be some people that don't like this, but I do. When you watch like NASCAR, I apologise, but if you watch NASCAR or
IndyCar?
the stuff that goes on screen, the information they give to you is fucking great.
Yes.
You know, there's what's going on, and then there's times, and there's pit stops, and there's drivers, and then now and again they'll bring a driver up and give you the stats on that driver. You know, and what he's done.
last lap times, average time.
No, but even like
Yeah.
career roundups.
Oh,
and
right,
stuff like that.
like full stats, not just
Yeah.
race stats, like
Yeah,
average
yeah.
time on the throttle compared to the brake, but they do that as well.
Yeah. And I think Formula One could really learn from that, especially if Chase Carey's talking about turning every race into a Super Bowl. I don't think in fact, I'm going to say the comment in here, but I actually mean I don't think like even Formula One fans in general realise the importance of winning a Grand Prix. Because if you take, we need to remind people, like say David Coulthard had X amount of years in the sport, yeah?
Yeah, was it 13 wins? I think he
13
had?
wins, yeah. People need to understand that 13 wins in Formula One is a good career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a successful career.
Yeah.
Whereas if someone turns around to you and say, "Oh, who won Formula One? Oh, Hamilton. Oh, Hamilton again," and walked off, they don't appreciate what winning a Grand Prix is.
Yeah.
So I think that would be, if they want to turn every race into a mini Super Bowl, like they're saying, then you need to realise that it's not just 10 points and it's not just going towards a championship. That win in itself is a championship in another
massive.
series.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So
25 points,
Yeah.
by the way, Lee. I'd just like to point that out. You
oh,
said-
sorry, yeah, do some motherfucking time traveling.
But yeah, it is interesting to see as well that Chase Carey has named the personalities of the drivers as a key factor of promoting the sport. He sees that personalities around the sport are quite important, and they need to what's the word? Not violate.
Definitely not violated.
Don't violate the people in Formula One. Please don't do that. Exploit. There we go. That's the word. Exploit
just
the
as
personalities. Need to exploit the personalities a bit more. Sort of make the caricature them almost.
I'd have used the words promote.
No, exploit. Yeah, I think he.
No, I
actually,
think exploit is the right word.
Exploit is the right word, because I mean, you look at American sports coverage in general, and I'm not just talking about the other one that I watch and podcast about plug. But
Give the name.
on Three Legs Fourth Down, you mean?
Carry on.
But you look at American sports coverage in general for the NFL, Major League Baseball, NASCAR, IndyCar. You actually see more about the participants, and you get to see their personalities. For example, just picking a random example out of the air that most of you guys will have heard of, Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
No.
Quarterback in the NFL for years, retired last season, won a couple of Super Bowls, advertises everything.
Right.
In the US, he's the face of Papa John's, an insurance company, Dodge trucks, and people know about him as well off the field.
Yeah.
Not just through the adverts. Second generation player. His dad was like a legendary quarterback, Archie Manning, and you find out about their actual personalities. And in real life, he is as dull as ditch water.
Right.
But there are some characters as well, usually the ones that get arrested. And with F1, it's kind of turned into identikit drivers, giving.
Well, no, it hasn't. But I think you've still got these personalities.
I don't think
But
that
I
Chase Carey can fix any of that.
No, but I
But
think
they're portrayed as identikit drivers.
Yeah, but that's not because
I don't
of...
think
don't
they're
think they are.
identikit,
No.
but
No.
they are very obviously media trained.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's not Bernie Ecclestone or Chase Carey's job to fix that.
that's the teams.
And that's because
But that's because what the culture in Formula One
Right.
has become.
yeah,
The-
but
the thing that
it's what they
Formula
won't name with their products though, and that's not going to change.
No, but the thing that Formula One should have used to the best of its advantage, and it didn't, were things like
Maldonado.
things like Daniel Ricciardo with the shoey. That should have been promoted. That should have been on all adverts for Formula One on TV for the next. Why is that guy drinking out of his shoe? What's he doing? Is he mental? No, he's Australian, and it's a
Yeah.
thing in Australia to drink out of his shoe. Vettel on the podium at Monaco a couple of years ago. I'm happy. I'm good. I'm all right. I'm again
Yeah.
should have been used way more. Been like come and look at it's the personalities that will draw people in. If you've got a big personality in a sport, it does draw people in, and
Well,
I think maybe that's what
Even Raikkonen,
yeah.
who is fantastically popular for being the opposite
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
a
that's it.
personality.
Yeah, but everyone loves him.
Yeah.
Most people love him. But that's exactly what Chase Carey, I think, is trying to say, is that these drivers have big personalities, and it's only the people who are already involved in the sport who really understand their personalities. People outside of the sport, casual watchers, might not pick up on that straight away because they're not exploited correctly. They're not promoted in the right way. They are, it's just like, well, they are. He's a cheeky chappy, and he said that, and then it's left. But like I said, the Shuey, Daniel Ricciardo, is the most recent thing I can think.
I think he's a good one for promoting the sport in general.
I think so. I think he's if you can find rare footage of him not smiling.
I'll
go with
but he's really good.
Monaco.
He's really good with social media as well. With little videos and stuff like that.
And pictures that he posts up
vlogs
with things like that as well. And when he takes pictures with bands backstage as well. Hello, Josh.
Turned up at a gig that Josh Stewart, one of our listeners, was playing at with his band.
Nice.
Plug from Behind Crimson Eyes. They were supporting Alexis on Fire, who are one of Danny Ricciardo's favourite bands.
Yeah.
So Josh sent us a photo of him with Danny Rick backstage at his own gig.
His band sounds like my fake emo band name.
Which is what?
Dry Your Bleeding Eyes.
Dry Your Bleeding Eyes.
No, that's what everyone used to say when that bloody song by The Streets came on the radio again about 2003. Oh, Dry Your Bleeding Eyes is on again. Or as we ran it through Google Translate through about 15 different languages, and it came back, reconcile what you're looking at, my esteemed work colleague. Other trolling areas are available. It's a great game. Google Translate Tennis. You start off with it in English, and you just run it through as many languages as possible, get it back to English, and then...
Great for pub quizzes, because no one can look up the answer.
Expect that to happen at a Wednesday in the near future.
Oh, yes. So,
Dan and Chris have now just shot themselves in the foot because they come to the quiz that I host every week.
So they...
I've memorised lyrics in every combination of translations.
Damn.
I remember winning a quiz once in a pub because the mobile phone that one of the girls that had was with us was the first phone that had
3G.
No,
Edge.
no,
WAP?
No, an app. The what's the one where you can get
Oh, Shazam.
Yes, but it was an app built into the phone before it became like a multi.
Oh yeah, it wasn't Shazam. It was cool. There was another one, wasn't there? Before Shazam.
It was
I
on
remember what
Sony
it was called.
Sony phones, and her phone was the first phone that had that. And it was a music quiz we were at, and it was literally like we came from the future to win this quiz.
Oh dear.
Yeah, can I just say, in the pub quiz I regularly go to as a participant, I got 44 out of 44 in the music round last week. I need to get out more, and I didn't use Shazam. I just have no life.
Well, just before Christmas, we got more than 100% in the music round.
Which was weird.
Oh yes, I had to give you an extra part of a point, didn't I? You got an and.
No, you'd said you'd give us an extra point if we got the link 3 songs before.
Yeah, and you did.
I'll have to come to one of these.
Note to self.
Yeah, you
make
do.
mu-
It's
Yeah.
good fun.
Yeah, note to self. Make music quiz tougher.
Anyway, back to the Formula One takeover.
Back to the Formula One takeover.
So we know what your commercial man's doing. He's probably going to bring Formula One up into the 21st. He's going to drag it kicking and screaming into the 21st century, away from Bernie Eccleston's
I hope it's
clutches.
good because people like change is always change, but change isn't always good.
Change, generally speaking, is good. Generally speaking, and you've got to change with time. And I think what the thing is, Formula One hasn't changed enough as time's
Lots
moved
and
on.
lots of things happened, and then 60,000
What?
Jews died.
More than 60,000.
Hey,
Sorry,
6 million?
6 million.
Yeah, Patreon podcast joke.
Yeah.
And then
What I was about to say was,
go on.
if you look at, and we're going back to American sports again, they've all got their own dedicated streaming services where you can legally watch full games that have taken place like hours or the day before.
Yeah.
That you can subscribe to. Something like that for Formula One would be brilliant because you can watch highlights or an entire previous race if you missed it. Having the ability to watch it when you're not in front of a TV
Yeah.
would be...
I fully expect Formula One eventually to take... I'm surprised more things haven't done it now, to be perfectly honest. Pro wrestling seems to be ahead of the curve in a way because you've got like the WWE network.
Yeah.
You can watch all your WWE stuff.
You've got the NFL Network, you've got the Major League Baseball
Yeah.
Network, the NHL.
And in fact, I shouldn't say pro wrestling. Anything extremely American seems to have done this.
Yeah.
Like core American things.
Yeah.
But I
Sorry to all our Canadian listeners, NHL is Canadian as well as American.
It's all America.
They're on the continent of North America.
They are.
Okay.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what he's talking about. I've broken him again.
Yeah. But like Formula One would be ideal for that because there's so much stuff with it. Because you can have a Formula One channel, can't you?
Yeah.
So, and it would be easier to have a service than try and keep a channel going all the time because then all your stuff's on demand.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden that one channel that seems to get fucking dragged out to death, it doesn't need to be dragged out to death because you've got all your races there, or you've got all the support series and stuff like that you can watch on demand. And I'd pay £10 a month for that.
Yeah.
I pay fucking £100 a month for fucking Sky.
Well, you get the Sky F1 channel.
Well, yeah, there is
Which
that.
it keeps showing the same things over and over again. Like Inside Williams. That Inside Williams documentary.
Claire.
You just ruined my next joke. Sky have shown the Inside Williams documentary that much. We have seen more Inside Williams than Claire's gynecologist.
I would say I improved your joke. Let's move on swiftly.
So we've done the commercial side. What about the sporting side? Ross Brawn. Everyone knows Ross Brawn. Ross Brawn. He was the head of Mercedes when they bought out Brawn GP.
He was the head of Honda when he.
Well, yeah, he
bought the
rescued that
rights.
team. He rescued that team after Honda were like, "See you later, we're off," because there's a recession and we don't like racing when there's no money.
So he knows what it's like to be involved in a team with a massive budget. He knows what it's like to be involved in a team with no budget.
And he knows how to win because he was at Ferrari during Michael Schumacher's years.
And Benetton during Michael Schumacher's years.
Yeah, if you want to go back that far into the 90s, he was part of the trio that Ferrari decided to bring.
The dream team.
Yeah, Rory Byrne, Ross Brawn, and Michael Schumacher.
You're forgetting the biggest attribute he's got as well. Any new regulations that come into Formula One, any new regulations that come into Formula One, he has a solid background in that to understand what those regulations will do to the cars.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Ross Brawn started out as an aerodynamicist.
Yeah, he did.
He started out as an aerodynamicist, and then I think he just sort of worked his way up. I think he worked at Tyrrell for a few years before he moved to Benetton, and then he was at Benetton when they eventually became world champions in '94 and '95. Yeah. And then went to Ferrari, as I just said, with Michael Schumacher to build.
I'm pretty sure that he, like in the heyday of the Ferrari days, he had more than a hand in the basic design of that car.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
Rory Byrne is as we reported a few podcasts ago, back working with Ferrari, aged 70 something, working on the 2017 car, which of course will pretty much be finished now. So yeah, what's Ross Brawn going to do technically on the sporting side of regulations?
The first thing he said, and this came out today, was only announced last night as the managing director of the sporting side of the Formula One group. He believes that the key to Formula One's future health is long-term planning, and simplifying the rules should be a key objective.
I can completely agree with him with the long-term planning, because how many times have Formula One, for example, qualifying at the beginning of last year gone, we're not going to do this. Oh, actually, no, we are going to do this. Oh, no, wait, should we do this? Right, yeah, we're going to change it. And then, like, 2 minutes before the start of the race in Australia, they abolished, like, loads of rules on the radio regulations.
It's ridiculous.
So, actually, those rules we put in place at the beginning of the year, well, we're going to abolish them, but let's not tell the teams until...
I think people quickly forgot what a shambles the beginning of last season was.
It was. And so
can you tear off tear-offs? Can you...
Yeah,
can you talk to the pit about when you can take a tear-off off?
Yeah, put your tear-offs in the cockpit.
I
not
still
viable.
think that is a fucking ridiculous thing, the tear-off thing.
Yeah.
Because I think they can only tear off now going through the pits.
No,
No,
they
that
changed
got
it and it's now
abolished.
free.
Oh, is it?
Well, that's it
grand?
again. It's
Right.
another thing. It was just like, well, this is the rule now. You've got to
Yeah.
abide by it, and with no consultation, and teams are going, well, hang on a second. If you ask the drivers about this, and the drivers like, we can't do that.
But like the
Well,
whole thing with that was safety, wasn't it? Oh well, it could go into a brake duct.
Well, they did go into brake ducts and cause
but
problems.
not
And into air
regularly.
ducts as well.
Yeah.
Into
Oh,
radiator ducts and cause heating issues, cooling issues rather, overheating issues with other cars.
So
Yeah.
then ban trees from within 2 miles of the circuit just in case
Exactly.
leaves get blown in.
What are you going to do about plastic bags?
Yeah,
Yeah,
recycle them.
Yeah, we should do. Throw them into a Ferrari's exhaust. But yeah, it's one of those things that it could possibly cause a thing, but is that possibility actually dangerous enough to do something about it?
Well, it
It's
did
like
cause a
this-
couple of fires, didn't it, in 2015?
I'm not sure, to be honest. Was that the
I'm,
Williams?
I'm sure there was some problems caused by tear-offs. Someone with a better memory than me help here.
I think it was 2012.
Was that Williams?
Rubens Barrichello, I think it was.
Yeah.
Was that his last year? Rubens Barrichello, 2012, 2011?
Can't remember.
Seem to remember his brakes catching fire. Or was it his side pod on fire?
I'm sure there was some in 2015, which is why at the start of 2016 they said, we're doing this, we're doing it now.
Yeah.
Which is strange, as I just said, not to consult everybody from
Yeah.
the top brass right the way down to the drivers, and just for somebody to go, this is the rule now, and you
Yeah.
have to stick to it.
But it always seems to be Formula One that does these things.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's
You know,
stupid.
there's
So
no.
for
I
Ross-
bet GP2. I bet they were still throwing tear-offs around in GP2.
I'll bet they were. And
Yeah.
to me, it'd make a lot of sense for these new rules where you're not maybe sure how practical they're going to be.
Testing out on the kids.
Test them out on the kids. If it doesn't work, you've failed with a lot fewer people watching.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and you
without bajillions of dollars at stake.
you end up not looking as stupid.
Yeah.
You know, GP2
And
and
who
GP.
cares if you kill a GP2 driver here and there?
But
There's
GP2 and
loads of
GP3
them.
should be, you know, their feeder series. Well, there should be developmental series as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And it's not just the
I don't-
drivers that are being developed, it's
Yeah.
the rules that are being developed.
I don't mean throw every crazy rule that you think of at them, but
Sprinklers!
if you've got something in the offing, got something coming through, then
Added time hammer
test it
corner.
unless it's really urgent to get it live.
Yeah, it's like soccer. When FIFA want to bring in a new rule
Added time multi-ball.
like that,
Which really should be a thing.
Yeah.
Of course it should.
they will try it out in a smaller competition, like the when they tried the extra officials
Yeah.
or the goalsmen, as I've been calling them.
Yeah, Europa League.
Yeah, well, they actually tried it in the first couple of rounds of the Italian equivalent of the FA Cup first,
Well, there you go.
and then the following season they brought it in
Yeah.
because it worked. But they didn't just launch it on world class, world level. This is now what's going to happen.
I have a
Opening
rule.
round to the World Cup.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, these are the two extra officials.
We've-
What?
Yeah,
We've changed our minds.
Yeah, 20 minutes before the match. Yeah, and then like 3 minutes just before kickoff. Use two use are actually not needed. So you know, it's mental that that's been the way that the sport has been run up to yesterday.
Yeah.
So Ross Brawn is completely right in what he's saying with the planning for the long term and making sure that any rules or anything that come through are slowly and carefully thought about and not just slammed in place. Media, here's a press statement. This is what's happening, and all the teams are because there have been cases where the teams have learned things through press releases.
Yeah.
And that's just ridiculous. So.
There was a time when Damien Hill he didn't have a McLaren drive through a press
Yes,
release.
that happened as well, and so Ross Brawn seems to have the theory of evolution, not revolution, which 2017 is a revolution in Formula One. The amount of changes with the car designs. Perhaps the rules themselves aren't changing that much, but just the cars that are coming in for 2017. It is a bit of a revolution. So if F1's wiping the slate clean, it's a good time for someone like Ross Brawn to come in and be in charge of the sporting regulation side of things.
I agree with what Christian Horner said this week as well, that Formula One needs to concentrate on being a show again and not being a not worrying about technology that can filter down to road cars, essentially.
Well, that's the thing. It's almost always been a prototype formula. As soon as car manufacturers got involved, that's what it's been.
Yeah.
Do you think he'd be saying that if he was with a manufacturer team?
No, probably not, but I still think it's right. I still think it's the right choice. I don't care. I
I
really
like there
don't.
being a point to Formula One.
I see. The point to Formula One should just be winning it.
Yeah, but look at all the things that have come from Formula One and are now in everyday cars.
Yeah. But the thing is, if
you look at Formula One, you're burning shit tons of fuel for no real reason, except you can say seatbelts, ABS.
Yeah, but I think the thing is that what
Flappy pedal gears.
Yeah, well,
aerodynamics.
I still think that you would get
Curves.
that. I still think you would get stuff coming through that because you're essentially in a war, so things get created. But I think he's more talking about the hybrid side of it, where because the problem is for the last few years, I don't think Formula One has been leading the way. I think it's actually tried to fall in line with the way.
Yeah, we said this before about there are certain car manufacturers who were watching what Formula One was doing when it switched to hybrids in 2014, and they're now completely lost interest in what Formula One is doing. Those namely being Ford and BMW.
Yeah.
BMW because they don't necessarily see hybrid as the way forward. They see it as a halfway step to either going full electric or creating more efficient turbo engines, and you've got Ford who are just like it's going to be more efficient turbo engines, not hybrids that lead the way.
Yeah.
So there's a split in opinion when it comes to the motor industry as to what is the way forward away from fossil fuels.
I don't even think that electricity is the stopgap in the middle. It's almost mini disc, which we had between CDs and going to MP3s.
Yeah.
Like electric is mini disc because hydrogen is MP3. That's where we're going. We're good. That's where we're going. Is hydrogen.
Hydrogen or a replacement fuel.
Something
along those lines.
And the reason it'll always be that is the fact that it doesn't need to change the system of delivery. The infrastructure that's been put in place, where you go to the petrol station and you buy your petrol and you drive away, is still going to be the same thing with hydrogen.
Not quite. It becomes hydrogen is extremely
Oh yeah,
volatile,
I don't mean you use the same pumps.
And the gas.
No, I don't mean you use the same pumps, but I mean
the same thing, the same process. If you fill your tank up,
they can charge for you in the same way as you're getting charged for petrol, and that's why we're still using fossil fuels.
Because you can charge for them, and the tax is massive.
Yes, and it's it's a business model, so you can't. That's why electricity won't work like that, because the business model isn't the same. You charge your car at home, so instantly there's something took away there, and the oil companies aren't getting a cut of that,
and
because
also,
all of a sudden the money's going to a different place.
And also governments are saying that, if you've got an electric car, you don't have to pay any road tax.
Oh, and half price electric over here.
Yeah, there is a.
I think it's 8 hours of the day.
If you charge your car between midnight and 8 a.m.
Yeah.
You get reduced rates.
Mm-hmm. It's like literally half price.
Mm-hmm. One thing that has come through now, I don't know if this is anything to do with the takeover, but the stewards are being told to be more lenient when it comes to collisions during this next season.
Who's told the stewards that?
Pastor Maldonado.
Saviour of manor racing.
The F1 Commission and the World Motorsport Council they actually had the discussions last week prior to the takeover, and it's been agreed that from now on drivers will only face punishment for incidents if they are wholly to blame for a crash.
That sounds to me a lot like listening too much to the fans. Where you'll get the fans saying, "Oh, it's terrible that they get punished for every little thing that they do," and then something will happen, and the fans will say, "Oh, you've got to be more strict about this."
everyone's happy when it's their favourite driver. That's
The
winning.
new article in the regulations, the rewritten Article 38.2, which we have heard too many times.
Oh, that one, 38 point, not 38.3.
Well, no, because every time the stewards get involved when there's the slightest bump, it's Article 38.2. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that this last season.
Okay, like a preacher, can you read to us from the book of FIA?
The book of FIA. Well,
hang on, wait,
Chapter 38,
Wait a second.
verse 2.
Can you read it
Can we
like
have
a preacher as well?
No, I really
Can
can't.
we have an organ for this as well, please?
Zip. Article 38.2a states it shall be at the discretion of the stewards to decide if any driver involved in an incident should be penalised.
Hallelujah, brothers and sisters.
Before, it was any driver involved in an incident, the stewards must decide on the penalty.
Should never let not one man be incorrectly judged.
Wait, isn't one of the big complaints that you're hearing at the moment that it's not that the decisions aren't
And
consistent?
your stop and go is healed.
And they're saying now that it's completely steward's discretion, which sounds like a lot less consistency.
It carries on. Unless it's clear to the stewards that a driver was wholly or predominantly to blame for an incident, no penalty will be imposed.
No penalty would be
No
imposed.
penalty.
So if it's both drivers' faults, such as you could argue the Verstappen backing Vettel into Ricciardo in Mexico, and it wasn't Ricciardo's fault. He saw a gap and went for it. But if the stewards saw that as both drivers' fault, no penalty.
No penalties.
Interesting.
So it
Because that for me is why I thought they had a driver's representative steward on the steward's board, so that the stewards could go, hey, come on, you can't drive like that, and the driver could have gone, well, wait a second, in my position, if I was there and could have done that, I might have reacted the same way. I thought that's why the driver steward was there.
It looks like it's going to give the driver steward more leeway now to say what a driver would do in that situation and whether they were responsible or not.
See, what you then need is you need one driver steward or two driver stewards that go to every race. Because that's the only way you're going to get consistent rulings, isn't it?
I think so.
I think the reason why they didn't do that originally was because even ex-drivers tend to be quite busy.
Oh yeah. I understand why, but then the best thing to do would be not to get
Not to get a good ex-driver.
Yeah, not to get Nigel Mansell or someone like that. Like, get Alan McNish before the BBC bought him. Do you know what I mean?
But doesn't a decision made by a former world champion carry a bit more weight than
I think
someone
so.
who raced a couple of times?
Yes, it
No,
does.
no disrespect to Alan McNish.
Nigel
but-
Mansell spent, what was it, for 13, 14 years in Formula One?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does, but only if you tell them who the driver is. If you just turn around and say the driver steward ruled this, then you negate that conversation, because all people will argue about is the ruling and not who it came from. Nobody ever asks who the referee is of a football match.
No, that does happen.
Does it?
Especially if it's Howard Webb.
Yes, well done, Dan. Good knowledge.
And I don't even watch football.
He now just commentates for BT Sport, usually on Man United games.
Right.
Is he retired now?
He is
Webb?
retired now, yeah. The other thing that's come out is new rules about the Putin parade, everybody's favourite part of the weekend.
It's the worst part of the weekend, let's
Exactly.
be honest.
The pit lane will carry on opening 30 minutes before the race start, but now it will close 20 minutes before the start.
What? So everybody's got a 10-minute window to get out?
Everybody's got a 10-minute window to get out of the pit lane. Drivers then must be present at the National Anthem ceremony 14 minutes before lights out.
No, I don't agree with that, I'm afraid.
I think it does detract from the ceremony a bit when halfway through the national anthem you've still got drivers pushing their way into the line.
Do you know what I think it'd be fucking cool instead of doing it?
But is it necessary?
No.
Yeah, I'd like to get rid of the thing, but
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a disadvantage for the drivers that have qualified at the back because they've got to go the whole length of the grid and
Can't they
then
just
go
stand by
back.
their cars?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but this is the thing. Turn it into part of the show. So before, like, say 5 minutes before race start, or 15 minutes, say, when you would do the national anthem, or the pit lane, the racetrack needs to be cleared apart from get a deemed number of mechanics per car, which you would call like essential staff.
Oh yeah, that happens on the grid anyway. You've got non-essential and then essential stuff.
No, but even like less of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you've done all the laptop business. You essentially need the people that start the car,
which is
the
laptop business.
You've got your tyre guys, your back jack guy, your front jack guy, and your guy with the starter.
Yeah, and then you could, instead of doing the national anthem, or they could have the national anthem if they wanted to, you could have all the drivers stood by the sides of their cars.
Yeah.
And then you could then have a cameraman go down the middle of them, and that would then also take away like the always tacky looking graphic that they have at the beginning of every race show to tell you what the grid is. Yeah, so immediately, if you've just tuned in, like 5 minutes before the race, you start off with seeing who's lined up where.
I think Lee's just saved Formula One.
Again.
It's getting quite boring. I save this every week.
Do you know what I'd love? I mean, some people might not like this as well. I'd like really fucking dramatic music as well while the camera was going down. Make the men fucking gladiators.
But what about like
that's your national anthem as the camera's going down?
Yeah, I mean, if you ended up getting rid of the national anthem.
What about like an augmented reality style thing? Where you got like the camera tracking above the grid, sort of looking down, and it comes up with their names as it goes over them whilst the national anthem is playing.
Something tells me our new marketing guy
is already on
will
this.
probably be looking at something like that.
I know, as Chase Carey as well said that the future of Formula One lies in virtual reality as well. I read that somewhere.
Virtual reality, as in watching in virtual reality.
Yeah,
360 cameras on cars.
Yeah,
that would be mental because then you could pretend you were an actual.
Well,
driver.
do you know what I'd prefer is, because I mean I want virtual reality to take off, because I think watching wrestling from ringside on a 360 camera would just be the best way to watch wrestling. I think it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But if you could do it, paid your whatever it was to your Formula One network.
Yeah.
And every corner, each side has a 360 camera somewhere. There's a couple dotted around the stands here and there. But make sure where your 360 cameras are, there's a screen across the way, so you can sit on the grandstand, watch the race, and see it. And naturally, you'd have the circuit sound pumped through and commentary over the top of it.
It's going to be like being there.
It would be like being there, but better than being there, because you'd know what was going on. And obviously, because that diamond screen there would be a virtual screen rather than
an actual big screen,
you could choose the coverage you got on it.
Yeah.
Not only have I saved Formula One, I've shown it the way to go.
I think you just saved TV.
I think if we're talking about VR,
Stranger Things did that.
True. If we're talking about VR, it's worth mentioning as well that Sean Bratches, one of the big things he did was televising esports.
Oh,
so
did he?
Computer gaming.
Yeah.
Well, he's responsible for that as well.
Right.
So is he partially responsible for, and excuse my ignorance if he isn't, the Formula E e-gaming support?
Not
thing?
as far as
I
I know, though I'm not an
wouldn't
expert
have
in his
thought so.
CV.
The Formula EV race, or
That's what
whatever
it's called.
That was Forza, wasn't it? Forza Motorsport, where you could race along with the race.
No, there's an actual support thing where you've got robots, haven't you, coming soon? Is that next
Robo
year?
races
Robo
next
races
year, I think.
Next year in Formula One.
Return of the race cars.
Yeah, but they had like where actual drivers were racing in.
Yeah, we talked about this last week. They had a virtual race around a virtual Las Vegas the other week.
Yeah, but
with 12 Formula E drivers and 12 really good Forza players.
Do you know what the problem about robo racing is? At T2, all the cars will stop and try and kill John Connor.
Oh God.
It's all right though. There's salvation at T4.
I just farted a little bit.
Where's my show notes apart from on Instagram? What?
Do they say get us out of here?
Yeah. Yeah, and bloody quickly. Let's see. What else do we have on here?
Are we sticking with the takeover, or are we done with that now?
I think we've covered quite a lot on the takeover, and
We want to know what these people want to think about it. Or
things are still
what to
going
say
on.
about it.
But yeah, let us know your opinions on what you think about the new Formula One management at this incredibly early stage, where you think Formula One should go.
Yeah, what you want to see.
Yeah.
From both the commercial side and as a fan sitting there watching. We've just spitballed a few ideas. What are your ideas that you would like to see happen? Because let's be honest, there is going to be a progression. So get in touch and let us know. We'll run through a few of them and we'll read out the good ones on maybe next week's podcast.
Yeah, because I'm sure lots of people will be getting in touch. Because just got to say a quick thank you to everyone that's been in touch, liking tweets, liking Facebook posts, getting in touch by Facebook Messenger and emails. Because that has shot up in the last week or so, and
Yeah.
we don't know why, because nothing ever happens in the off season.
Nothing ever happens in the off season.
What have we got now? Jules Bianchi has had a street named after him in his hometown of Nice.
He has indeed.
A fitting tribute, I think.
Yeah, it's grand.
Yeah.
That's about all we've got on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no,
It's a nothing story, but it's everything
Yeah.
as well.
At the same
it's
time,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dan will get this to the local council or local government of Nice. Chapeau. Got to get a cycling reference in there
Absolutely,
somewhere.
yeah.
Carlton Kirby, you got amongst men. Blue flags and penalties should be scrapped, says Derek Warwick.
Who is a racing driver steward?
Yes.
Derek Warwick is wrong.
I also think Derek Warwick is wrong.
I don't know.
I think he's wrong as well.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure. I understand his points.
You can see, understand his points because we were talking about this pre-pod, and Lee came up with something quite good that, quite a good point that when lead cars are going through traffic, it always seems to be the car that's following that loses time.
Actually, I came up with a good point and deciphered it.
Yeah, Dan translated for Lee because Lee wasn't making much sense.
Dan speaks fluent Leish.
Wouldn't say fluent.
You could pass an exam in it. You could go to Leland and order a beer.
Yeah, he'd have to live here for a couple of days, then he'd get right back into it.
So
It's amazing how much of the language you know when you're immersed in the place.
we're just trying to break each other tonight. I'm convinced.
It's funny.
So Lee, what was your Dan? What was Lee's point?
Yeah, Lee's point was that well, he was actually reiterating Martin Brundle's point while saying that Martin Brundle was wrong. Which is
Brundle's wrong,
which
but
is
actually right.
as Chris said, repeating Lee's point. That's actually Martin Brundle's point. When you've got a train of cars coming up on the back markers, the front car tends to get through quite easily because back markers see the blue flags, move over, front car goes past, back markers pull back onto the racing line. If there's a second, maybe third car behind that front car, then they tend to fare less well.
First car's like the prettiest girl in the room. Tends to fare well, and then it slows down from there.
I'll tell Lewis Hamilton you said that.
Congratulations, Lewis Hamilton.
You're Lee's prettiest girl in the room.
He's got incredible skin.
Well, yeah, it's sponsored by Nivea. I think if they're going to carry on with blue flags, which, to be honest, I think they should, to shift the back markers out of the way, there needs to be some way of telling the drivers that are being blue flagged how many cars they have to let through.
I think they've all got displays on the steering wheel now.
Yeah.
Like decent sized LCDs. There's no reason not to say how many cars are within 5 seconds of them and what the gap to them is.
Yeah.
Well,
So they don't even need to look in their mirrors.
Well, there's that, but I think the onus is on the teams more than anything. That you've got to start punishing. Don't punish the drivers for not necessarily passing 3 blue flag stations when they're also racing for position. For example, you've got you're towards the end of the race and someone's fighting for the final point, 11th and 10th place, and then you've got a Mercedes barreling up behind you, and you've got to slow down to let the Mercedes through. I think the onus has to be on the teams. Like, all right, you've got, Lewis is coming up behind you quite quickly. Try not to slow him up, but also stay on the back of the other guy. But also, if that doesn't work, you then got to look to punish the teams, not necessarily the drivers. Or hang on, you passed like too many blue flag stations without giving way. Give him a 5-second penalty.
Yeah.
Because then, why are they racing? As soon as they've been lapped, they may as well just pull in. Because they're just going to spend the rest of the race just be like, oh well, I've got to slow down again now, losing 4 or 5 seconds.
Yeah, it kind of ends up neutralising battles further down the field.
Yeah,
getting rid of blue flags as well doesn't work because you have things like Toro Rossos on the grid. So if all of a sudden your lead cars had to overtake a car, that Toro Rosso would become the widest thing in the world for every other car but a Red Bull. So that even just that situation, that's instantly unfair.
Yeah, remember the days before the blue flags were clamped down on? Ferraris found it very easy to lap Saubers.
Yes.
And no bugger else did.
Yeah.
What was it Murray Walker once said? Yeah, or was it Martin Brundle? That'll be extra champagne on the way to the Sauber garage.
Yeah. So the only way I can work it out, and the problem with this is old Formula One and older circuits.
Yeah.
That even if there isn't like a visual fucking line on the circuit, it should be treated that way when it comes to where the racing line is.
Yeah.
So if you get a blue flag, that should come up on your dashboard. I don't know if it does or not. But if when another car is within a second of you and that blue light comes on your dashboard, you should be given 20 seconds to get onto the other side of the road and allow it past.
That makes sense because we've seen before marshals waving blue flags at drivers.
Yeah.
When the lead driver's like halfway down the straight behind them. It's going to be another 2 laps yet before they're on top of them.
It should essentially be within DRS range. As soon as they're because of DRS range, we've got that as a marker now, haven't we?
Yeah.
That's our thing. So yeah, as soon as that comes up and you've got the blue light on there, you could even have it as a fucking timer that as soon as the blue light comes on your dashboard,
it counts down.
down.
Yeah.
And then that would also be another visual aid you could have on the screen for viewers.
Do you not think that puts the onus on the driver again?
Yes, but it's the driver's. I know what you're saying about blaming the team for giving the information, but at that point the driver has all the information without needing the team, and it's essentially him that needs to turn the wheel and let off the throttle.
Also, Formula One are tracking all of the cars.
Yeah.
So they know how quickly the lead car is coming up to the back marker.
Yeah.
From that, you can predict where he'll overtake.
Yeah.
So why not give that information to the back marker, saying you're going to be overtaken within the next 20 seconds, move.
Yeah. And then that's it. Then you either move within the 20 seconds, or the next time you're going to go in the pits, they're going to fucking move you by giving you a drive through.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then everyone knows what they are, where they are, and I think if it was that strict to where it was that amount of time, it would all work out. So say you had a battle of 3 cars, yeah, and they're all racing each other, so you worry that no one wants to lose position. So your back car has to go first to get out of the way, and then slot back in. Then your next car has to go out, and it should theoretically all just fall into each other itself again if everyone does it, because that car that was last has already lost the time that the next car will lose, and then they've both already lost the time that the first car will lose.
Yeah.
You can still hop onto the train of cars that's overtaking. If you're a back marker, hop onto the end of the overtaking cars and hope to sneak past one of the cars in front of you.
While we're talking about lapped cars and DRS, I think DRS rules should be changed. You only get the benefit of DRS if you are a second or less behind a car on the same lap as you.
See,
at the DRS point.
So people backmarking
Backmarkers don't get the DRS advantage just after they've been lapped. and
lapping cars
and
don't
lapping
get the
cars
DRS.
don't get the DRS advantage to increase the gap.
I think if you're going to have DRS, you should be able to use it wherever you want it, whenever you want.
Yeah,
Either bin it or open it up.
Yeah, because when it used to be open for practice sessions, didn't it? And you get cars doing ridiculously fast times and spinning off quite spectacularly when you had it
That's
open. And
because
they probably shouldn't.
you could use it wherever you wanted in qualifying as well.
Yeah, but during the race, it was
Yeah.
only during the zones.
Yeah.
So
And that's gimmicky as fuck.
Yeah, actually, do you know, to be honest, just bin it off completely.
Yeah,
because
totally
it's,
agree.
Because it's fake. Either open it up
yeah, or don't have
or
it.
don't have it at all.
Yeah.
No, sod this half measures business.
Yeah.
This
is the problem with overtaking now, and this is why I know we load on Max Verstappen for doing overtakes now again, and he's done some very good overtakes, but overtaking has been cheapened because there's so much of it.
Yeah, I mean, in a way.
Yeah, and it's not done by natural speed and driver skill.
No.
It's just down to I've got within a second. It's a long straight.
I'm through.
Yeah, I can lose a load of downforce, a load of drag. Vum.
The most interesting thing about DRS is when it gives you a judge on what other cars' engines are like, because when you get a Renault that's trying to get past a Ferrari and it can't do it with DRS, you go, fuck me, look at that Renault engine. So that's the only thing it really does, is it lets you gauge.
Yeah, the tag engine could get past the Ferrari.
Yeah. So it lets you gauge stuff.
Yeah, but just open it up or get rid.
Well, it was a solution to the problem of not being able to get close to the car in front of you once you caught him up really quickly.
Yeah.
I wonder how it's going to change.
It was a solution to a problem created by the McLaren Technology Centre, who found a loophole in the rules.
Yes.
Yeah, I wonder how it's going to change when, because you've got these lower slung wings and wider rear wings as well for 2017. I wonder how it's going to change the dynamic of DRS, and what I mean by that is sort of how effective is it going to be in relation to how it was in 2016.
It's going to go one or two ways, isn't it?
Because it's either going to be more effective
or less
effective.
Yeah.
Or it might be just as effective.
No, I don't think it will be, because of the amount of downforce you're going to have, extra downforce and extra mechanical grip on the cars as well. Just I'm trying to science on the fly here.
Well, it's bigger, so you'd imagine that you're going to lose more rear downforce because
I think it'll be more effective. I think
But the
DRS
wing's lower, isn't it?
Yeah, I think DRS will be more effective because you've got more mechanical grip anyway from the bigger tyres
I've got another
and the
confusing
wider
factor.
cars.
Another confusing factor about it as well.
Go.
Because the wing's flatter and the DRS comes up, you're going to lose downforce obviously because there's a big hole in your ring, but it's also going to create some downforce by the wind hitting it at that angle.
No, because the DRS vane on the rear wing
Drops, isn't it?
some drop, some rise, but they are going to be aerodynamically shaped to.
Yeah, but it's still going to cause some drag. Because the way the wing already is, if that raises, no matter how aerodynamically it's done, that's still going to create drag at some point.
Well,
If it's pointing straight into the wind, then not a lot.
and surely it'll be the reverse effect of having the wing on there, because
You're still going to lose downforce. Don't get me wrong.
it'll be the shape of the wing that generates lift.
But what I'm saying is, it's going to it's another factor that's going to be thrown into this for how it works. I'm not claiming to have the answer of it.
And wider
It's
cars
just
with
a
bigger
thing.
tyres as well are actually going to be slower on the straights. Faster through corners, but slower on the straights.
Yeah, who was it that was asking about that? I think it was Jonathan Mills asking about what the difference was going to be.
Yeah.
Because he sent an email in last week saying, you know how the cars are going to be 5 seconds a lap faster. How deadly does that make Monaco or Grosjean's brakes going at the end of the Baku Straight? Will there be a high risk for rookies?
That's a very good question, actually, Jonathan.
But my take on this is the speed on the straights isn't going to be much different. It's the speed in the corners that the cars will actually be able, they won't have to scrub off as much speed.
They can take.
They'll be able to take
corners.
the corners faster, and that will actually be easier on the brakes because the drivers won't have to brake as hard to go into a corner if there's, say, a 30-mile-an-hour difference in a corner.
There is a roundabout on a fast corner,
Yeah.
for example.
For example, the one at the end of the Baku Straight.
Yeah, I was thinking more sort of like a fast sweeping corner, like the S-Bends in Malaysia, for example.
Yeah.
They reckon there's going to be about a 30 miles per hour increase
So
in speed.
the cars aren't going to have to slow down as much. So it'll actually, the way that I understand it, it'll actually be lighter on the brakes because they won't have to apply as much stopping force.
Apparently, it's going to reclassify corners as well.
Yeah, there was. I can't remember who said it. It was one of the teams.
If you can go through it flat, it is now going to be considered a straight and not a corner.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, the teams are just
Means Eau Rouge isn't a corner anymore.
Nope.
But that's not been. There's been times when it's been taken as flat before.
Yeah.
Jacques Villeneuve,
See, that was something they robbed us of.
Mika Hakkinen.
Where with the DRS zones.
at least with Hakkinen it worked.
With the DRS zones, that robbed us from when is a car going to go through a Rouge with its DRS open.
Ooh, that would be brave.
No, I know, but that's like that. It was a thing, and that was being talked about when you could use DRS anywhere. It opened up the Jacques Villeneuve crash window again.
It did. I remember what I was referring to before with that Mika Hakkinen was going flat through a Rouge was the 2000 Belgian Grand Prix. That overtake, perhaps my favourite overtake of all time in Formula One. Where he double overtake Schumacher and whoever the slow car was, Ricardo Zonta, I want to say.
Yeah.
His talking through that. Bear in mind, no DRS, no battery power or anything. It was just engine and car, and aerodynamics, of course,
and a bit of Zonta for drag reduction.
He came out. Hakkinen talking through it. Came out of La Source, heading towards Eau Rouge, the lap before, and thought, I can't take it flat. I'm going to have to lift. Lifted, nailed it just before he got to the top of Eau Rouge. Got to the end of the Camel Straight, and went, I need to be closer. How am I going to get closer? It dawned on him quite quickly. I'm going to have to take Eau Rouge flat. I'm going to have to not lift for Eau Rouge if I'm going to get past him. I'm going to have to. And as he came out of the source and he saw Ricardo Zonta in front of the two of them, he was just like, "Oh my God, this is going to go so horribly wrong." But where he'd already made his decision and he kept it flat, and he thought, well, I don't know which way Michael's going. If I go the same way as him, we're going to have a horrible accident. He said Michael moved first, he moved after Michael, and somehow the move stuck. So you don't get that kind of thinking. Well, obviously you get drivers thinking about when to use their DRS.
Fernando Alonso going around the outside of Schumacher at 130R.
Yeah, for example,
that wouldn't happen now, and it's not because these heroic overtaking moves aren't to be had. It's because why take that risk when you can wait to get on a straight and drive past them?
Yes, that was the point I was eventually getting to. Yeah, that's
Sorry.
Exactly. No, you got there a lot shorter than I would as well. That's
what she said.
He had the racing line on that answer.
He did. He had DRS.
I just left the door open. And I just went for it.
Yeah.
But if you're Verstappen, you overtake anywhere. And, and if there's a car in front of you under DRS, then great, you'll take them. And if there's a car in front of you not under DRS, you'll have caught up with someone else by the DRS zone.
No, I don't. I'm not taking anything away from what Verstappen's done by any stretch of the imagination. But like Paul says, if we just get rid of DRS, it makes them race. It makes them have to race. When they come out, they go, right, I've got to get round that.
It
car
makes them think
somewhere.
It makes them think what I just explained, like Mika Hakkinen. It makes them think, well, hang on a second, I'm going to have to do that flat if I want to catch him.
Yeah.
Not, I'm within a second, I'll just open my rear wing.
I'm in favour of getting rid of it if we don't still need it.
Yeah, which is be interesting to see how 2017 unfolds, and nobody knows how it's going to unfold.
No, that's the thing. We've got the new regs.
It's all uneducated guesswork.
All educated guesswork. Even the teams in the simulators, they can only do best guess.
Yeah.
Until we actually see some cars on a track in Barcelona at the end of next month.
I can't fucking wait.
It's getting closer.
Is anybody saying they're going to run 2016 cars in the first test?
Manor, if they're there.
Manor, if they're there, will be running the 2016 car for the first 3 races of the season.
What?
They have been given dispensation because Friday's deadline...
With 2017 tyres.
With 2017 tyres and 2017 bodywork and a wider chassis.
I've just realised March is when Formula One starts again.
Yes, and it's also the name of an old Formula One team.
March is when
Yes.
Nintendo Switch comes out. I don't think I can cope with that.
I don't think you're going to be leaving the house a great deal.
You might have to speak to your boss and see if you can take maybe all of that time off.
He's sound. He puts on a hard front, but he's all right.
He'll let you have March off, will he?
Yeah. He insists on being in the same bed as me, though. It's weird.
The latest on the Manor situation, by the
Can't
way,
even go to the toilet
is,
without him.
The talks are still ongoing about the buyout, but they need another £500,000 to pay salaries, prepare the cars, and get to
Well,
the test.
we haven't covered the Manor buyout yet, have we?
No, there
We
have
still
been...
don't. We still don't know who it is.
Well,
It's an Indonesian consortium.
Yeah.
Oh, it is the Indonesian KFC lot then.
I don't know if they're KFC,
It's an
but
Indonesian consortium who have been trying to get more money, and it's believed that they were the people who said we need an answer by Friday, which would have been last Friday,
Friday the 20th.
Friday the 20th of January. The Manor team said, all right then, let's talk. And Manor actually put something out, I think it was today, or not Manor themselves, the administrators put something out today. This is getting silly. There's been a lot of talk and no action.
The official line is, talks with interested parties have intensified, but a firm financial commitment has yet to be secured.
So this is getting silly.
Yeah.
It's been all talk and no action.
Basically, there's 7 days' worth of wages left in the pot. Because they've got the money to pay the staff up to the end of January. So things need to happen, and things need to happen quick. Like,
Yeah.
they've got a week.
I can't help but feel that the state they'll turn up in Australia as, it would be better for Formula One if they didn't.
If they're going to be using last year's cars, then again, remember when McLaren had
of
to use
course.
the previous year's car? Because
But I mean that's McLaren.
that's McLaren.
They were always going to get better as well.
Yeah.
And I think if Manor have done anything, they've proved that it's going to take something fucking monumental for them to get much better.
But just because they've got dispensation to run last year's car doesn't necessarily mean they're going to. It
No,
means
they've been
that
told to get ready for the start of the season.
Yeah.
it means that if the money runs out at the end of January and talks are still going on,
Yeah.
they can pick up a couple of weeks later and they've got a plan B rather than having a 2017 car.
Yeah, but I mean, that's grand. But what have they got? You know, it's even if they did run a 2017 car, what are they realistically going to have? Is there any point in having a car tootling about well off the pace?
No.
So that's I mean,
But we don't know. That's the thing. We just don't know.
I think we've got a pretty good fucking guess.
they'll be further down the grid than they will be further up the grid. I mean, I was quite hopeful that Manor might be able to push forward a bit,
I was hoping that, but
then they hit the money
But
issues.
the thing is, if they've hit money issues, then I don't believe they've they've built a car. If they've had these money issues, then how can they have developed anything that would have pushed them forward anyway?
Well, they were quite boastful before Felipe Nasr finished 8th or 9th, whatever it was, in Brazil. No, but they were quite boastful that we started building our car and we started designing our car way back in January. We're sound for 2017. We're doing good. And then all of a sudden, Sauber getting 9th place finish and like, shit, you know that 30 million we were kind of banking on?
Yeah.
That's not coming.
It sounds like gamesmanship, to be perfectly honest. The whole thing about them designing the car early, and probably they were probably using that as a public way to try and find a buyer.
Possibly.
And let's not forget, they haven't even got any drivers at the minute. So not only are you going to end up with a shit car, you're going to end up with a couple of fucking Chiltons that have rocked up with some money.
I think you're going to end up with Pastor Maldonado and Esteban Gutierrez.
I don't.
in
So
that car.
I think if Pastor Maldonado was gonna drive a Manor, I think he'd have already drove it when he left. Well, when he got ousted.
Well, he didn't have the backing then. He lost all his backing. He got nazzed.
Has he still got it now?
He's got new backing allegedly.
The thing is, Maldonado was allegedly talking to Manor and Sauber back in November, I think it was, about a possible seat. Now, we know Sauber have already tied up both their seats.
Do you want to hear a joke? What I read the other day.
Go on.
Quote. This was the quote and the lead for the article. Maldonado hoped Mercedes' seat would save his career.
This I can't, who
So did Nasser. So did Gutierrez.
Oh dear. Next thing on the running order, and I'm kind of dreading this now.
Go on.
It's time for Lee to ask some questions.
Lee's got a game.
Gonna play my game.
Yeah, Lee was teasing us with Lee's 20 questions all week. And how many questions have you got?
It's now called Lee's Questions.
How many of your questions are there, Lee?
There are 8.
What is this? Is this similar to my quiz that we did a few weeks over a couple of weeks?
Yes.
So is it a quiz or is it a game?
Well, it's not on my phone anymore. Where's it gone? Oh no! I'm so looking forward to this.
3 legs, 4 wheels, a byword for professionalism and research.
Oh,
And left-handed googling.
I'm absolutely mortified.
What have you done?
It obviously just didn't save.
So this thing that we've just said we're going to do, you're going to have to...
It's okay. I can fix this. Pad.
Or I could just hit pause and we could have one of those jump cuts.
Hang on.
Are we there yet?
Yeah, we're ready now.
Oh, right, okay.
Right. So, some questions from Lee. You must guess who I am.
Who you are?
You're
Yes.
Lee.
No, well done, Dan.
Yes!
Hang on. So is it right? Go on. So what have we got to guess within a certain amount of time or questions?
No,
or
no.
what?
Wait. I'll ask you a question, and then you can confer. And then if you want to ask, if you want another question, you can just get another question.
You know, like
This is
Or you
like-
can
this
do
is
your
like
own
the
answer.
this is like these 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 questions
Yeah,
I do
yeah,
in my
yeah.
pub quiz.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know that, but there we are. I just thought it was like 20 questions. So, my first job was preparing rally cars with my brother.
So it's someone with a brother. It's not an only child.
Sorry, I'm not going to ask you for information, but we're talking somebody within Formula One.
Oh, yeah, it's a Formula 1
Right.
based question.
All right. Okay.
Are they in Formula One or are they in motorsport administration?
Can't answer that, Dan.
So he's just going to provide the clue. So we can go for it on 5 points, or we can wait for...
Because Jean Todt started off in rally, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he might have done, yeah. But
My first job. Hang on. My first job was preparing rally cars.
now, Jensen Button's dad was a rallycross driver, and I'm sure he would have roped kids in. Does Jensen have a brother, although Lee wants to be said brother?
That would be incest.
I think we should go for the next clue.
Let's go for the
let's
next
have
clue.
another clue. Yeah, go on.
In the mid-70s, I and my brother were running a Surtees in the 1976 British F5000 series.
Probably not Jensen Button.
Wouldn't be Jensen Button then.
No, Jensen Button probably was too young.
In the mid-70s, Jensen Button was probably not very born.
Which is too young.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jensen, the glint in the milkman's eye.
1979, 1980, Jensen was born, so
Yeah.
it was not him. So we're talking running the F5000 team, Surtees F5000. Is that what you said?
It's like the F5000 series.
Series.
So
Surtees team in the so Surtees. That would be.
And you said in the British.
in the British. So we're
Yes.
looking for someone British.
Not necessarily, because John's.
Possibly not, but possibly Mansell. You said the year was 76, and Mansell came into Formula One in.
He tested for Lotus from 78 to 80.
Would you like to give United Mansell an answer?
I think we need a different clue just to be sure, but I'm hedging
think
towards
that-
Mansell.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking more mechanic than.
Well, no, Nigel Mansell started as a mechanic.
Would you like another question?
Yes,
we'll have
go
another
on.
question.
In 1977, I joined Hesketh.
Oh.
77.
Which sounds James Hunty, doesn't it?
No, because James Hunt left Hesketh in 1970, at the end of 75, and he was driving for McLaren.
in 76 and 77.
Yeah.
So he joined Hesketh in 77. So
I really feel like I should know this.
Hang on a second. It doesn't have to necessarily be a driver, though, does it? Joined Hesketh. Sorry, Lee, can you repeat the clue?
In 1977, I joined Hesketh.
See, I joined Hesketh. Not necessarily I raced for Hesketh.
Yeah.
As I said, sounds
As a-
more mechanic-y than driver.
As I will say this, and it's not a clue or a swerve. If, for clarity, if I was a driver or a mechanic, I would have said the same thing. I would have said joined. I wouldn't have said raced
Yeah.
because it's a clue in itself.
Oh, I've had an idea.
Go on.
Ross Brawn.
77.
Yeah.
I joined Hesketh in 77. That is.
It's quite possible, yeah.
Hang on. How old is he now?
62.
62. So in 77, he would have been
40 years younger than he is now. 22.
22. That sounds
Feasible.
feasible. I think we should go for
Shall we
Ross
go for
Brawn.
Did you give a year for the F5000?
76, was it?
76.
20.
Let's go with Ross Brawn.
Go with Ross Brawn.
Yeah.
Ross Brawn.
Yes.
Wrong.
Ah.
Would you like another clue?
Yeah.
Go on.
Following the demise of the team, I left to join Bernie Ecclestone's Brabham team.
Oh. Who's driven for Brabham?
Or worked
or
for.
worked for Brabham. Everyone. Brundle?
Would you like another Brabham-based clue that could go along with that one?
It's not David Brabham, is it? Because he didn't race until the early 90s.
Yeah, and
So it's not David.
when he was in the car, he didn't really race.
Not particularly.
No.
I can at least give you give you a job now. I became chief mechanic for during the success of World Drivers' Championships of Nelson Piquet in 1981 and 1983.
Chief mechanic,
Chief mechanic.
in 81 and 83.
When did Ron Dennis take over at McLaren?
I like those.
It was sometime about 88.
No,
So-
earlier than that.
Was it
'cause-
earlier than
Earlier
88?
than that, because he welcomed Alain Prost back to McLaren in 84. Because that's there.
Oh, and this month's F1 racing, which is instantly out of date.
Instantly out of date the moment it came out, much like our podcast has.
So you know, because I've done this and it was supposed to be 20 questions and it's just now Lee's questions, you have 3 hints left.
Right.
Would you like to take another clue?
Can you just repeat the last one just so it's in my head?
I said it really badly.
Chief mechanic.
I was chief mechanic during the championship years of 1981 and 1983 for Nelson Piquet.
Ooh. I think we are going to collectively kick ourselves at the end of this, aren't we?
We've got listeners who are screaming the answer at us.
I know.
We can't hear it
Yeah.
because they're in the future.
Yeah.
Go on, one
This-
more clue.
This will not help you. Tragically,
That you don't know what a clue is, do you?
Here's another clue. I am not a fish.
this is just a good one, and I can't wait for your heads. Tragically, in 1990, my brother's body was found after being murdered.
Oh, I do know who this is.
And
Yeah, no, I've heard this before. Somebody's Charlie Whiting.
I am Charlie Whiting.
Yes.
Well done, Chris.
nice one, Chris.
I'm going to do that every week because I really
that's-
enjoyed it.
That could be a good new one. We should start putting these in more often.
I'd like to
Please, who am
I'd
I?
like to say, after losing my questions, I think I did all right.
Yeah, you did all right.
yeah, now you've just got to re-find your questions.
No, I don't need them now. I only research Charlie. I'll research.
So you've got to research
for
somebody
next
else
week.
completely different next week.
Or well, if I keep doing Charlie White, it won't be a game anymore.
No,
that is
won't
true.
be.
But that was it. I couldn't find the next two
Oh,
questions.
hang on a second. The clue that wasn't going to help us, I got the answer.
Well, fuck knows.
What were the other two clues?
The next question was after leaving Brabham, I joined the FIA, and then the one which was would have been
I was the
in
head of the
1997. I became the FIA's technical delegate, or whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
technical director, wasn't he?
Yeah.
technical director.
I think that's about covered.
Still is.
That's about covered everything for this week.
Have we got any listener questions?
Mailbag? We got a little bit of mailbag, I think.
Yeah, let's have a look at the mailbag. I will go into some notes here that I haven't made, so I'm just looking at the Facebook
Oh,
messages.
like my question notes.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. What have we had since last week?
I had a pizza, a kebab.
Clogged arteries. Craig McLeod, who
Good name. Good name.
there
can be only one Craig.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that's the first time he's ever heard that.
Never on holy ground.
That's the second Highlander reference that we've made tonight. The first one was on Patreon.
Was
yes,
it?
it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was the first one?
We made a joke about there can be only one, but I didn't like any of the films, and there can't be only one because there was like 7 films in a TV series.
I must have fucking faded out for that one.
Yeah, you probably did. You were looking for your questions.
Possibly.
Anyway, Craig says, "Hi guys, brilliant podcast. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
Haven't missed a single week since I discovered it in the summer. My question is, with Bernie looking to be edged out, and the fact that one of his investment companies owns the Paul Ricard circuit, coupled with the fact that Liberty are trying to increase the show, do you think we could see our first deliberately wet F1 race? We know that we also know that Bernie likes the controversial. Would love to get your thoughts on that."
You mean-
You're out of date.
Yeah, well, this was from last Thursday while Bernie was still
Yeah.
Bernie.
Yeah.
But the question is, the Paul Ricard circuit is still going to happen in the race at the Paul Ricard circuit is still going to happen in 2018.
Well, it's contracted to.
It's
yeah.
contracted to. Chase Carey has said that he still wants Bernie to be a part of Formula One, even if his doddery old granddad actually sat in a corner. Pretty much. Bernie owns this track with all these sprinklers.
He doesn't own it by himself.
One of Bernie's companies that he has a controlling interest owns this track with all these sprinklers.
I can't see a deliberately wet race happening without it being, let's do a race somewhere where it's likely to rain.
Do you know what I thought? I thought this was a silly idea until it was brought up to us, because the what I thought then was, well, is that any more of a gimmick than a night race?
It's yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you
it
think
is
so?
more-
I
Yeah.
don't. I think just the idea of
Because-
for the French Grand Prix is wet.
The night race was different reasons though, because that was to get.
I know
that was
what
to
it
get the
was
race.
for.
That was
Yeah.
for TV. That was for Europe.
But let's not pretend that it wasn't for also a bit of eye candy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it
So-
looks fantastic.
Oh, yeah,
it
Which
works.
is why
great.
Bahrain became night race as well,
Yeah.
because it's also more manageable temperatures in places like Bahrain as well to do night race. MotoGP has done their GP in Qatar as a night race in the desert for years.
They've had to because
Yeah.
the daytime track temperatures, the tyres last one lap, and you can't change tyres in MotoGP.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't think we'd have a wet race for one reason and one reason only. The way that
Because
F1,
we can't race in the wet
yeah,
anymore.
that's it. That's the reason.
Well, the thing is, as well, to go back to that point with the deliberate wet race, Singapore was supposed to rain there all the time. Never had a wet race there.
That's because we
As well as being night race, it's supposed to be wet all the time.
yeah, but it doesn't rain at night, does it? It's one of those countries where it literally rains on the time at that time, like Malaysia.
Yeah.
So that's why we've never had it, is because it's not rain o'clock.
So yeah, I think if there's going to be wet races as a gimmick, they would move Malaysia to put the race during the rain
Yeah,
period.
the difference with Malaysia rain is that you can't race in it because it's like monsoon o'clock.
Yeah, like 2009,
Yeah.
where
So,
Jenson Button got the half point.
Yeah, but I don't.
Like why Brazil is at the end of the season and not the start of the season.
If it wasn't
although
something
that didn't go
stupid
quite so well.
like halfway through the race it started raining, or if they had like a randomised weather program.
Oh no, that'd just be.
That's awful. But if it was just a case of 5 minutes before the lights start, the sprinklers go on, you've got a wet race. I don't mind that.
The thing is, though, if you were going to have a wet race, you would have to have 3 wet practice sessions and wet qualifying as well.
Yeah, it would be a wet weekend.
Yeah.
Giggity. But
I can't see him doing it because they can't race in the wet at the moment, but who knows what the 2017 wet weather tyres are going to be like.
If there was guaranteed wet races, they would make cars that could race in the wet.
And the other thing would be is Mother Nature's the one that we get fucked over. But if there was with X percentage of precipitation, we can race safely and we can manage that level of moisture, then I don't see the problem in it. The sprinklers would literally wet the track to the point where it was just sound.
But then what happens if it rained?
Turn the sprinklers off.
Then there's too much water.
But then there'd be too much water because
but
because then it would be raining heavier. It would end up as being too wet for a wet race.
Yeah.
Which would just get confusing.
I just don't see it happening just yet.
No, I don't see it happening, but I'm just saying I don't think it's as bad an idea as I probably should have done. I think if it happened, I wouldn't go, this is ridiculous. I just go, oh, it's that.
I'm taking away your least saved F1.
Yeah, I can't see it.
Formula Splash.
Had a message from the Gasman. He wants to know if any of us have started reading Ross Brawn's book yet.
I haven't got it.
Which I got for my birthday last week. Plain and simple, I just haven't had the time to pick a book up for the last week, and I am hoping that I will do over the next weekend.
I get a feeling you're going to have to add a couple more chapters to that in the next few years.
And
By the time it comes out in paperback in about 9 months' time, I think it'll be a bigger book than the copy that I've got, and I'm going to have to go out and buy it again.
I'm
Get
going
it
to
on
wait.
Amazon, it'll update itself.
Yeah, but my girlfriend bought it me, and it's hardback and all proper and like a real book that you can read and then put on a shelf.
I'm going to wait for the pop-up.
Yeah, but the pop-up tabs will be very aerodynamic and will come out really quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope to get some time to actually read the book, and I will share my thoughts once I've had a chance.
Please don't.
What have we got? Luke from Australia commenting about Australian Grand Prix coverage.
Oh yeah, no, putting me bang to rights on that one.
Yes,
yeah. Which is fine.
Because
Jon Snow already said before the mics were on.
the free to air coverage, Chris, you weren't too impressed with.
No, I wasn't impressed with it, and Luke has said exactly why. It's just not as good. They get a premium service, much like we do in the UK.
Well, they get the premium service exactly like we do in the UK, because Luke says if you pay a premium, you get Sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine it's Sky Australia and not Sky UK.
No, they get what we see on Sky F1.
Oh right, okay. And then
They get Crofty and Brundle.
Oh, well, there you go.
And no Eddie Jordan.
Well, then that would be exactly why Luke says that British coverage does seem incredibly biased towards British drivers.
Because he's seeing the British coverage.
Absolutely.
They never heard of the Shumi Cam then. But I mean, that's to be perfectly honest. I think Britain over most other countries, to be fair, we don't tend to support our own media-wise. I think other countries have certainly got bigger hard-ons for their own than Britain.
It's just the British way, though. We don't bias in favour of the British drivers.
Yeah.
British coverage is biased against Johnny Foreigner.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think that. I think the other thing that maybe.
Oh, come on, at Silverstone though, when anything good happens to a British driver, the cheers that go up are immense. And do you remember when
Which is fair enough.
Yeah, but
you know, like when
every
Vettel
circuit
retired.
every circuit you go to, you always find the camera on the local guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's there's just
Vettel-
the way-
Not as much since they stopped using local producers.
no.
No, but you remember Vettel it was his last Red Bull race at Silverstone, 2014 would that have been?
Mm-hmm.
When he had to pull over because he retired right on the main straight there.
Yeah.
The British crowd cheered because he wasn't British and retiring and was winning all the time. Bit mean, but
No, but don't forget that was after fucking Multi-21 gate, wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was,
That would have happened.
He was
yeah.
Webber's enemy.
Yeah,
and that
and
would have
Webber is
happened
honorary British.
that
Well,
would have happened at any
lives here,
circuit,
which
I
is-
think.
After that Silverstone win, Webber
Yeah.
was an honorary Brit.
Don't
Yeah.
forget, you're talking about the season where when he was on the podium, he was getting booed.
Yeah.
You know, when they went to different races.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing is, and like I'm not a Lewis Hamilton fan either, but what might be fucking upsetting some people, they go, oh, it's fucking biased to Lewis Hamilton, is
Yeah.
whether you like him or not, he's arguably the best driver on the grid.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a bias towards him. He's actually doing the things they're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's.
You know,
Yeah, but there are. It's widely regarded, isn't it? Hamilton, Vettel, Alonso. Those three as being like the best, the top three.
do you know what? I personally don't think Vettel belongs with the names because
I
he-
don't think he's proved himself yet. He
No.
was in a fantastic car for a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah. Now look what Alonso did when Alonso was with Ferrari and Ferrari weren't the best.
Yeah.
I referred to it before.
he won
referred to it-
races.
Yeah, I referred to it before. I referred to it again. That cartoon of him dressing his Ferrari gear with his helmet on, dragging the stallion
Yeah,
across the
yeah.
line. It was powerful and very funny at the same time. But it was just like, well, no, that's actually what he's doing. He's literally dragging that Ferrari team along by himself. Vettel's not doing that.
Last year in Australia, where Alonso should have won the race.
Vettel.
Where Vettel should have won the race.
Alonso definitely wasn't going to win in Australia. He was upside down in a barrier.
No, but if he
But if he wasn't, he would have won it.
but if he was in that Ferrari, he'd have won that race.
Possibly it was the team that got that.
But that's
wrong for him.
Alonso wouldn't have had that. I don't think.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I don't. But even going into it's also
Do you
interesting.
get the feeling that Alonso sort of unified
Yeah,
Ferrari,
yeah.
whereas Vettel divides Ferrari?
I also think that, and it's only just occurred to me, that all these strategy calls that they might be making wrong, that they've been making wrong, has been since Alonso's departure. It's basically the same team. So does that mean in race briefings? And this is just me fucking singing, waxing lyrical about Alonso. But does that mean when they were coming up with the strategies within there, either Alonso was given better data about the car that they could work with, or when they were putting these things forward, he's going, "That's fucking ridiculous. I'm not doing that."
Possibly, who knows?
Yeah, well,
Is he just more intelligent than Sebastian?
Quite possibly.
Could well be.
Yeah,
I mean, it's well documented as well, isn't it, that Sebastian is kind of a little bit like Ayrton Senna in that he wishes to know everything about the car. He won't. If there's someone in the garage and he hasn't spoken to before, he'll go up to him. Hi, I'm Sebastian. I'm the driver. Who are you? What are you doing?
yeah.
I'm looking through this computer which tells me all the. Well, how does what I do correlate to what you do?
Yeah.
And he wants that conversation. He wants to understand what everyone's doing. So okay, well, show me what you're doing then. And I can't think of another driver that spends that much time trying to learn everything, and yet still gets it so wrong.
Well, that's it, mate. I mean, everyone.
And I don't mean
everyone.
it's him.
No,
It's the team as well.
Of course, it's the team. But the when you look at Sebastian with Vettel,
Sebastian with Vettel.
he's got
Go
my
on.
same working relationship with my boss.
Are you talking about
But,
Sebastian Bourdais?
No.
Don't forget there was one point where if you were driving a car with Red Bull on it, 75% of you had
Daniel.
to be called Sebastian.
Yeah, it was Bourdais, Buemi, and Vettel. Wasn't
Yeah.
it?
But the thing with like Vettel and Raikkonen, like we've gone this year. Raikkonen's done really well. He's really raised his game. Now, looking at this side of it now, from like what's Vettel up to, maybe he's not. Do you know what I mean? Maybe he's just driving well, but if Alonso was in Vettel's car, maybe Alonso would be 3 places ahead of Raikkonen.
Well, he
every
was
time.
for that one season.
Yeah,
they were
yeah,
teammates.
that's what I mean.
Alonso was down the road from Raikkonen.
So maybe the fact that Vettel is only matching Raikkonen and not these places ahead of him, maybe that's why he's getting criticism within the team, as if Ferrari's looking at Kimi going, well, he's our number 2 driver, he's doing the number 2 job, he's doing what we want him to do.
Yeah.
But you should be number 1 pace, you should be further up.
Possibly, yeah.
Hmm.
We got any more from the mailbag?
Yeah, a conversation that I was having on Twitter with Jana Urbanski. Again, another regular listener. Thanks for
Hello,
getting in
Jana.
touch.
Hi.
This was about the Bernie situation.
Yeah.
I feel like there's no way he's going to be pushed out of the sport completely, but F1 is in desperate need of a rehaul. We're not arguing with you on that.
Not at all.
I just hope this is seen as an opportunity to make the sport more accessible both to fans and lower tier teams. And before anyone asks, she can hear Lee's pessimism all the way from America.
Pessimism oozing through the microphone.
She's not wrong.
Anyone describing you as pessimistic usually isn't wrong. It's like recording with bloody Marvin the Paranoid
But
Android.
I'm so optimistic about my pessimism.
That's good. I think. Yeah, that's about it for the mailbag this week. Just lots of comments from people saying looking forward to hearing our take on the whole Bernie and Chase Carey situation.
And you just have done.
Hope it lived up to your expectations.
Unless you skipped forward through the podcast, in which case you missed a good podcast. Go back and listen
Go back
to
and
it
listen
again.
to it.
No.
Or if you listen to it, go back and listen to it
we've
again.
got your download now. We don't care.
So you're pessimistic about people wanting to listen to this then?
Yeah, it's
even
just
though they've downloaded it.
But he's optimistic about his pessimism, so it's fine.
Download it, skip to the end. It's all the same to me.
Right, if you want to...
Just before you say that,
Yeah.
before the show we were talking about possible McLaren colour schemes.
Oh God! Sorry, there is one more tweet. There is one more tweet. I forgot. David Roebuck. Which do you associate more with McLaren? Red and white, or orange? #fuck orange. I think his opinion's pretty clear on that.
From my childhood and going way back to the 70s, right the way up to, what was it, about 96, they were red and white. I always knew McLaren as red and white, personally. But I have seen orange McLarens of old, and I like them. And if they do an orange livery, as has been teased, and some places, well, sources say, who are these sources? Bloody Heinz?
No, Tabasco, because their sauce is orange.
Well, there you go. It's kind of, is it orange,
I
red?
I just said it was red.
I said
Red.
it was more
I'm
red.
colourblind. It looks orange to me.
Fair enough.
Maybe colour isn't what you should be commenting on then.
You just want me to stop calling you Ginger, that's all.
Well, I think that again proves you're wrong.
You say I'm not good at orange. Your beard is.
No, yeah, sources say
What
that
colour's
it's gonna
Donald Trump?
Painful. Is that when I'm wearing sunglasses or not?
Yeah, but sources say it's going to be orange. I would quite like to see it in orange, to be honest with
Right. To me, yeah, red and white. That is what you think of when you think of McLaren.
you. But it's Marlborough.
nowadays.
But that's the Marlboro
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It's like a Lotus is black and gold because it was a JPS
Yeah.
Lotus.
Yeah. Lotus's actual colours were green and yellow.
Yeah.
Green and gold.
But I reckon McLaren are going to go orange. And I've got a reason for this.
You got a theory behind
I have
this?
a crazy theory that they're going to go orange because they want to get Verstappen. And just imagine how crazy the Dutch people will go for an orange McLaren with Verstappen driving it.
And how crazy the Belgians will go for an orange McLaren with Van Dorn and Verstappen in it.
Belgium's an orange?
No.
But Verstappen's also Belgian as well as being
Oh.
Dutch.
They do have an affinity with orange, though.
No, but he sort of represents the Dutch, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But McLaren, the red and white thing does come from Marlboro.
Yeah.
Because I remember when...
And Honda.
It's going to be the colour of whoever's paying the money, innit?
It is. That's the thing. Because when Nigel Mansell switched from F1 to IndyCar, I started watching IndyCar to see what Nigel Mansell would do. Turn left, apparently. And
at it.
There was a Marlboro team in that, wasn't there?
there was
at
a
the
Marlboro
time?
team in that. I think it was
Penske, was it?
I think it was Penske with Paul Tracy racing for him. And
And Virgil controlling.
yeah. And The first time I watched it, it's like, bloody hell, that's a McLaren, because it had exactly the same with the chevrons on.
Yeah.
And it looked like a folded out Marlboro packet.
Now, Penske don't use those colours anymore, do they?
No, because Marlboro don't sponsor them anymore.
Exactly.
And I mean, I instantly recognised it as looking like a folded out Marlboro packet because that's the brand I smoked at the time. And that's just where the red and white comes from. McLaren's colours were traditionally orange. When Bruce McLaren started, his car was orange and white. I think McLaren are going back to orange for a different reason to Dan. Because it's a fresh start for the team this year. Because the Ron Dennis era is over and done with.
Yeah.
And McLaren are going to go back effectively to the beginning. And it's a new start, and they're starting again.
No,
with the car in the colour that it first was.
I think Lee put it perfectly just before we start recording.
Probably.
about this is Ron Dennis is about to find out what it's like to be Martin Whitmarsh.
Yes.
Just like, I've left the team that was all efficient and everything was super clean and silver and chrome and everything was highly polished, and now they're orange.
If you look at the McLaren Technology Centre now, there's like the McLaren Technology Centre here, and slightly to the right, there's like 7,000 bottles of bleach.
That's what that lake is, isn't it? Isn't that lake just a constant feed of bleach?
Yeah. Apart from one guy walks and goes, "No, it had carp in it."
Yeah, the future's bright. The future's
McLaren.
EE because orange don't exist anymore.
The future's climbing out and is now a hideous monster. It was a fish.
On that note, if you want to get in touch, tell us that we're wrong or we're right, or just ask anything in general, or talk to Lee about video games and wrestling.
Yep.
You can get in touch on Facebook. Just look for 3 Legs 4 Wheels. You can tweet us at 3 Legs 4 Wheels or
At A Total Shunt.
Pablo 100 or
at Flood21.
Or at Danbert.
the but being you're never on Twitter. Oh no, you did tweet tonight.
Yeah.
Yes. Dan tweeted for the first time in about, what, a year?
Yeah, something like that.
Yes.
Dan tweeted to Lee, Chris, 3 Legs 4 Wheels, and not me.
You weren't included on the tweet I was replying to,
Oh, that's fair enough.
which
then.
is Lee's fault.
Well, I had you as 3 Legs 4 Wheels.
Which I do manage the Twitter
Yeah.
account for 3 Legs 4 Wheels most of the time, but my personal one is Pablo 100.
Yeah. But I just remember you saying the other day that you didn't want these fucktards contacting you on your personal Twitter.
That's the other personal Twitter.
Oh, right, okay.
That's at no fucktards allowed. I don't know if that exists, but it might
Does
do.
now.
Yeah, it might do by the time I get home. We're also on Instagram. You can find us there. Just search for 3 Legs 4 Wheels.
I haven't even gone to that yet. I really need to.
No, I've put the app on my phone. I was sending some photos out on Instagram while we were recording tonight, including the effect you had on Dan when you broke him earlier. And you can email us 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. Patreon. Yes, not mentioned Patreon yet. Want to thank everyone massively for all your Patreon donations. They are going a long way to keeping us going and keeping the biscuits involved. But most importantly, keeping us in things like web hosting, cables, bandwidth, everything we need to make the podcast, really.
Yeah.
We're getting the rewards sorted out very soon. This tax problem is nearly at an end.
Yeah.
I am speaking to an accountant this weekend, so we're actually going to be legitimate.
Tax doesn't have to be taxing.
Except it is.
Except it is, because I'm dealing with American tax and Isle of Man tax.
Of which there is none.
Yeah, but yeah,
No, but there is. That's the
No,
problem.
I know.
yeah, that's the thing with the Isle of Man tax and the American tax. So if you divide something by nothing, you get a big E on your calculator.
Yeah.
So the rewards will be getting sorted out soon because of this tax malarkey that I don't understand. I've got an accountant who's very into Formula 1 and Minis helping me out.
Good.
So
Good.
big thanks to Steve for that. Not that he ever listens
Mini
to this.
Steve.
Mini Steve.
Who's massive.
Yeah, Mini Steve, who's actually 6'7" and drives a Mini.
Yeah.
Quick plug for me, if you want to listen to me talk about pro wrestling, you can go and look for Banter Club, and you can follow that on @BanterClubPod. And basically, if you enjoyed listening to me gush about Jensen Button, like wrestling has a Jensen Button for me now, because I have got a serious man crush on Kenny Omega.
You mean somebody's actually replaced CM Punk in your wrestling
Oh
affections?
my word, yes.
CM doesn't throw a punch, Punk.
Yeah, and it means I'm a total hipster as well, because I've got to watch New Japan to watch him.
Oh,
And I want to just finish off as well, and I've thought on a note of Formula One as well. Renault young driver Jack Aitken possibly looking at a GP3 drive for 2017. So we'll see. So good luck to Jack Aitken as well, if he's listening.
Well, he has followed us on Twitter
He has
before
indeed,
and liked posts. So yeah, good luck, Jack. We need to adopt a lower series driver for the season, because we're not sure what's happening with GP2, and we don't know if Norman Nato's even going to be in there, or if there is going to be a GP2, because there's only...
And we need to be more biased towards British drivers.
That is true. And there's only about 4 drivers signed up for GP2 for next season at the moment.
Yeah, there's not many. There's not many signed up for GP3 either. But I think Jack
Is that
Aitken,
because it's not the way into Formula One anymore?
no, I think Jack Aitken's actually dual. I don't know if he's chosen to race under British or Korean nationality, but he holds both, I think. So,
Whatever gives them a sponsorship.
possibly.
Yeah, that's usually the way it works. So we'll be back next week. Hopefully we'll be back on time. Seeing as F1 stories now happen on a Monday, we should have stuff to talk about that hasn't happened yet, rather than stuff that happened a week ago.
Maybe.
You never know. But we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.